shall start our session, which its title is a collaboration between South and North of the Mediterranean Challenges and Opportunities in 2023. And we have a great panelists. So we will start with an opening speech from them, and we will be receiving questions from the floors, but these questions will be written. So please, if you have any question, kindly submit it to our colleagues. My name is Alaa Hashim, co-founder and executive partner in and a member in ECES. So first of all, we need from Your Excellency to give us a brief or an opening speech. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude for being invited to this event. This is a very important event. I'd like to thank Dr. Adla, especially, who has proposed the organization of such a seminar. And I'm very glad to be among these experts, Dr. Ziad and Mr. Mohamed Kassem. I'm very glad to be among all of you to speak about the South and North of the Mediterranean and the challenges and opportunities. First of all, I'd like to start about the challenges. From my perspective, being responsible between the relations between South and North, basically, there is no doubt that this this region is strategically, its location is very important, and it has a diversity in their productive capabilities and technological capabilities, and also it has a great share in the export market share, and 20% of the total international trade, which gives its region a very important rank in the international trade. This overview includes several challenges. First of all, that the regional economic integration is fragile, because the trade through the sea represents 90%. The sound is not stable. The trade between the EU countries are based on the integration between the countries. However, the shocking number is that 3% only in this trade is happening between the north of the Mediterranean countries, which is a very negative indicator of lacking of the economical integration between these countries. This is the first challenge we have. The second challenge that we are facing is the demographic challenge. We have in the south the overpopulation. We have a high percentage of the population, and in the north we have underpopulation. So each indicators are very negative, and also we have problems of the unemployment and the problems of lacking of supporting the essential services and the lack of their capabilities of achieving positive economic indicators and developments. And now one of the main issues that they are tackling is extending the retirement age. All of these are because of lacking of having the social insurance fund capability, and do not having any productive foundation. As for the third challenge, which is the climate change, and by the way, it is a challenge and an opportunity. We are in a fragile place. It is the most affected region by the climate change. Based on natural causes, we have no control over this. This is related to the climate, and this is not related to the emissions coming from this region. And the temperature degrees is raising by 20% rather than the normal temperature degrees. And the sea level in the Mediterranean Sea is increasing. And we're talking about 30 to 40 centimeters, and this is a disaster, and this may affect the life of the people who are living by the sea. The fourth challenge is the energy challenge, and this is directly linked with the climate change challenge. After the COVID-19 and the Ukrainian-Russian war, we have discovered the extent of relying on Egypt being the main supplier of the natural gas and oil by 40%. And the unprecedented raise in the energy prices, and this brings back negative results on the countries, because now we are exporting in our region, we are exporting the majority of our need when it comes to the food supply. For example, Egypt are exporting 90% of their needs in wheat. And in addition to the high raise in the energy prices, in addition, based on what has been said by the ambassador Abul Magd
about the challenges of climate changes that the European Union countries that they talked in the COP27, when they talked about that the countries of the South concerning the mitigation and actually explained this very well. This year, it comes once again to use the fossil fuel resources that actually impact negatively on the environment, and they opened the nuclear file once again, and this is an open discussion with its negative and positive points. And talking about the traditional means of extracting the natural gas that negatively impact the climate. Even the climate issues, the climate issue was affected by the Russian-Ukrainian war. And to go back again to actions and activities that might not participate with what we call the environmental challenge. This is the whole picture Nasser, we conducted a study about the economic integration in the region, and we divided it into five parts in the trade. Unfortunately, we don't have a multilateral trade framework. We have some bilateral agreements between Egypt and the European Union, Egypt, Tunisia, Egypt, and Morocco, and each agreement is different than the other. And as a result, also to defending to specific interests. And I always say that mocking. I always say mocking when I talk with my European friends. That how many orange tons, how many potato tons that Egypt is going to export to the European Union. If the European Union doesn't have a clear vision for the future, so we will be talking about the same problems. We have to reach the win-win situation that this will never happen unless we have a multilateral trade framework. Also, we have an absence of a common or a joint market that will enhance the trade situation, that our countries will be able to penetrate the European Union faster and easier. Actually, Dr. Ziad is more capable than me talking about that we didn't want to include the trade of services in the trade analysis, and we considered that this is a matter of sovereign. And if we looked at the structure of the big economies, we will find that the service sectors actually participate in the total GDP, exactly the same like the industrial production. Investments is the same. Actually, I will not talk about investments, and we have Dr. Ziad with us, but actually I'll give you an introduction. We all know what are the obstacles and the challenges in the south of the Mediterranean concerning the flow of investments, and what are the fields that they are open for investments. The third factor is the transportation, the logistics and the transportations, and also the interconnection. And here I'm talking about the energy up till now concerning the flow of the transportation of the goods up till now. The ability of the maritime transportation is less than what is required in order to achieve the economic and trade integration in the region. And this is also related to the interconnection in it is like a dream to reach a regional energy market that will have a positive impact, an abnormal positive impact on the region concerning providing the energy, and the studies that they were conducted for the energy efficiencies. About 50% of the current emissions can be reduced only by implementing the efficiency technology. I'm sorry, I am a little bit lengthy. Mrs. Layla Bahaa knows that if I start talking, I will never stop. So I want also to tackle other factors. If we talk about the opportunities, I will start. The opportunities after we listen to the other speakers. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you. I'm not going to be lengthy in the bio of the speakers. His Excellency, the ambassador, was our ambassador in Great Britain. We are going to move to Mr. Mohamed Kassem, chairman of Expolink and chairman of CEO of World Trading Company, WTC. 10 minutes, please. The floor is yours. Oh, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be with you today, talking about the opportunities, the current opportunities. As it is not related to the climate, but it is related to what is happening in the production value chain, the international production value chain. I have a presentation, not more than 10 minutes, but there is a kind of shifting in the global trade supply chain. And this shift, there are reasons for this shifting that we are going to tackle now. We lived about 3 decades in what is called the offshoring. All the developing countries, they are moving their factories in the south, in Asia, and especially in China. This situation was accelerated. I always forget to change the slides on the screen. This situation was accelerated after China was a member of the World Trade Organization, and the graph in front of you shows to you the increasement in the international trade that reached 3 times with an average of 5%. But I would like to shed the light on the share of China for the international trade was raised from 4% to 15%, about 4 times. So the offshoring was the offspring of the globalization process that we are all talking about. So this situation start to change. Why? Because I'm not going to talk a lot in order to be brief, and in order not to be lengthy, I'm not going to talk about the advantages of the offshoring. But what happened? We have 4 factors that grab the attention of the world about the supply chain that we have to reconsider. The first problem was the trade relation between China and the USA. The second point was the pandemic of COVID-19. And this caused a kind of a disruption in the international supply chain. The third factor, which is the event that happened in Suez Canal, that the canal was locked for about 3 days. But actually, this grabbed the attention of the world that this might happen either in Suez Canal or in Panama Canal. And then finally, the Ukrainian war. All these factors are considered to be the most important factors that they impact the international supply chain. So we have to look about other solutions. We have new kinds of offshoring. The first one is, which is the reshoring that like Trump did. He wanted to get back all the factories back again from China to the USA. And this logically, it will not happen. What's more logic is the near-shoring that for us is very important. For Egypt, it is very important. There is another type, what is called the friendshoring, and it is related to by the geopolitics, meaning that I'm not going to transfer my factories only to friendly countries, countries that I have good relation with. The nearshoring did not start today, it started a while ago, but actually through this time since the year 2014 till 2018, we have only 258 cases. All the workers in the 250 cases are not more than 13,000 workers. So the nearshoring before the year 2018 is not counted, but the trend started in 2014. The nearshoring, what is the advantage of the nearshoring is to avoid the long supply chain. So if there is any kind of destruction for the goods will not be late. Another advantage is that I am in a near neighboring area, and the emissions will be lowered. And normally it is they have a bilateral agreements with the neighboring countries, like for example the agreements between Egypt and the European Union, the association agreement between Egypt, Morocco, and Egypt and Tunisia. The problem of the nearshoring, what is the problem of the nearshoring is, simply speaking, is the comfort level. The cooperation, they took decision on the level of the administration, but actually the buyers who take the decision for buying, they don't want to leave. This is their comfort zone. They are very happy and they don't want to move. So here we have a discussion. We have a debate between the top management and the cooperatives, how they go out from their comfort zone. This will take a time, but at the end, the nearshoring is going to be the best solution and it's going to be implemented. There is a case that I would like to shed the light on because this is a very important case. There is an organization in USA, the National Council in Textile Organization. And if you know me, I mainly work in textile. And for this reason, I'm very aware of this association or this organization. This organization declared that is going to allocate about $550 million to support the textile industry in South America, and there is an agreement, a trade agreement, the CAFTA, that they give them the permission to enter the USA without paying any customs. This is a model how the developed world is working, not only from the top management or from the buyers. This is a decision that it's taken on the state level. There are other models for the nearshoring. I would like also to shed the light on Inditex. It is the company that is supervising Zara and other brands. They transfer their production to Morocco and to Turkey, from Asia to Morocco and Turkey. And this is the nearshoring. Another model, Boeing, use their components or import all their wiring components from a French company named Safran, and Safran moved their factories from Asia to Mexico, and they provide Boeing about 97% of the wires needed. Japan moved most of their vehicle factories to Thailand. All of these are models that shows the advantages of the nearshoring. The map that is in front of you shows the new global trade direction. On the left-hand side, this is the current situation, and on the right-hand side, I don't know the right or the left-hand side, this is what's going to happen. Maybe the total is about $18 trillion, but the distribution is different. We will find that the percentage of China is decreasing in the international trade, especially towards the USA, and then it is increasing towards Europe. We are going to see that the percentage of the participation of the South in the international trade is going to increase comparing to the North. So all of these are indicators for the changements that are going to occur in the international trade. I don't know how long do I still have. Actually, I have 2 more slides. The UNCTAD data is very important because it shows the performance the third quarter of 2020, and this the comparison between this and between the third quarter of 2021, we see that they all are in favor to the nearshoring. What we see from our following up to what's going on all over the world, that as you can see, there is going to be a kind of a fast growing in the global trade that is coming from the south so it's going to come from the south in the coming near future. The China trade cross is going to slow down, and the other regions from the south, the trade level is going to increase. 45% of the global trade is expected to be from the south and 55% from the north. And actually the 45% is a huge or a high level. The last slide in my presentation that is talking about the opportunities of Egypt. It's very clear that Egypt, with all its human resource ability, geographical situation, we are not only near to Europe or close to Europe, but also we are not far from the USA, from the east coast of the USA, comparing to Asia. When Asia exports to USA, it takes about 3 weeks from here to the USA to the east coast. We take from 11 to 12 days. So the cost and the time, it gives us a good opportunity. I don't have to assure on the importance of the opportunity towards Europe. We go to Europe in 3 or 4 days. If we go to Italy, if we go to Great Britain, it takes maximum 1 week. So being very close to the USA, it gives us an opportunity to attract investments and buyers, not only investments, but also buyers to work with us. Actually, I'm going to conclude with 2 recommendations, 2 proposals. The first one for the European countries. There is an organization in Europe called Eurotax, very similar to NCTO, the American one. So we are proposing that we can go through a negotiation to help us in the nearshoring as what happened between the USA and South America. The other point, which is related to the COP27, that Europe they actually implemented a program for improving industry. I'm proposing, and this proposal was submitted to His Excellency the Ambassador of the EU in Egypt in more than one occasion, that Europe will establish a fund under the title of greening the industry in Egypt. If modernization was implemented or not, but actually it is about time now to work towards greening the industry. Thank you so much for listening, and I am here if you have any comments or any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed, being committing to the 10-minute speech. And now I will be going to Dr. Ziad. He was the former Vice Prime Minister. I know you are optimistic. I have mistaken this morning by saying in front of him that I'm very optimistic. First of all, I'd like to thank you for this generous invitation, and special thanks goes to Dr. Abdel Latif for such an organization. I'd like to second what has been said by our ambassador and praise the keenness of ECES on COP27. They are taking COP27 and beyond seriously. So they were very keen. They were preparing for this conference for 1 year. So I'd like to thank Dr. Abdel Latif and the colleagues. My speech will not be lengthy, and I know that I have 10 minutes, and this is my only opportunity to speak. I'd like to talk about the investment issues. Investment is very important to us as a country, as a region, in the field of the Mediterranean cooperation, as well as the African cooperation. We would like to invest in the fields of economy, industry, services, and environment, of course. First of all, I'd like to start with Egypt, because here we have mega problems. The first one is all of what have been linked to the economic file, because there is an argument when it comes to the role of the governmental sectors and the private sectors. And we need to coordinate between these two sectors, the public and private sectors, in order to have the best practices possible between them. And also in the fields that we need to have the interference of the country. And this interference must come in from the relevant entities and the sovereignty entities. And this also will enable the private sectors in order to include it within our domains in the coming years. So the first problem is the environment, the investment environment. In Egypt, I am very optimistic because we have radical changes here in Egypt. Even after the latest decisions and the programs that the government have declared about, and the importance shifts and the radical changes that have happened in the past period. So this will allow the private sector to invest freely and securely. The second topic is, I'm not expert in environment, however. In COP27, I found myself a volunteer in working with some of the youth Egyptian investors in order to work on projects related to the safe environments, especially in the wind tunnels and the solar energy and the renewable energy generally. And of course, there is, we have a priority to the big industry, to the bigger industries and the mega industries. And also, in order to utilize the private sector opportunities and the opportunities provided to the private sectors. And also we have fair fund. When you are working in this field, you will find many opportunities when it comes to the fund. But as for acquiring the knowledge and the suitable data, the license, providing the license, and the cooperation with the government and the stakeholders, this is not accessible to the startups. So this is very important to me, and this is a very problematic issue because we do not enable the youth. But the latest trend that we are following now in Egypt is to support the SMEs. But I found out that the law didn't meet what it was intended for. So my proposal here is to have a sort of initiative, and this initiative will include the stakeholders in order to increase the extent of the startups and the investments of the youth in the safe environment, startups and new projects, because this will automatically change change our methodology in Egypt. Lastly, the idea behind this initiative that may encompass unions, the industrial unions, economic unions, governmental sectors, banks, and financial institutions and others. Of course, such a union will increase the productivity and amend positively the numbers and the percentages we have, and this will be a an effective meal and tool in order to steer the working wheel in the African cooperation. And one of the most important negative points that we have, and the essential problematic issue, is lacking of organization. So I'm calling for having a specialized agenda in order to support the SMEs and the startups in the this fields. Thank you so much, Dr. Ziad. I am a colleague with you. I'm optimistic like you. Now I will be getting back to His Excellency the Ambassador Nasser Kamel. You have talked about the challenges and the opportunities between the South and the North, and the population problems, climate change, and the energy challenges. And you have clarified your point of views related to the challenges. So if you take another 5 minutes in order to talk more about the opportunities that will support us in our optimistic trends. Yes, I am supporting you. I am second your word. We have to be optimistic. Egypt now is taking very important decisions when it comes to the improvement and the development in the empowering of the private sectors, in investing in a safe environment. Also, I'd like to talk about the European trend, which is zero emission by 2050. They will not achieve these targets unless they have full integration. The reasons are that they have a wealth of energy, of renewable energy. So they need to consolidate their efforts in order to exploit and utilize the wealth of energy they have. So investing in the solar energy is a must. And we will find that investing in the solar energy is not prominent when it comes to the EU countries. Another element, which is the security elements and securing elements, and also when it comes to the fund, because the solar energy is in order to shift your trend and your methodology to the solar energy, and in order to be realistic in zero emission target by 2050, you have to invest in utilizing the renewable energy. Now I'd like to talk about the trade and investment. We need to take the investment seriously, and we need to concentrate on the SMEs, because if you are seeing the economic framework of the EU countries, you will find that around 60% of their revenues comes from the SMEs. So SMEs are very important, and like we have learned from the ambassador Saad, it is not realistic that we have an Egyptian product, and this Egyptian product will not compete in the foreign markets. We need the Egyptian products to be exported and to compete in their markets because we deserve this. The third point is the commitment, and in the South and North Mediterranean region, I find that Egypt is the most committed country. Also how to deal with the shifts in the demographic balance. Now we all realize that the future now is to the economy and the industry that are linked to the sustainability. We need to concentrate and share and highlight the importance of the sustainability being an important factor in our industry sector. Also, as Mohamed Kassem has said about the near-shoring versus offshoring, we have Europe must, after COVID-19 and after the Ukrainian-Russian war, must cooperate and consolidate their efforts with the other countries. I'm not talking about the end of the globalization era, but I'd like to say that globalization and sustainability are linked. We do not want to have a monopoly because they are, for example, we have 3 or 4 countries who, for example, these countries are producing the electronic chips only. So this affected the economy of the whole world. We do not want any industry to be produced in 3 or 4 countries only. And as for the new Green Deal, we need to shed a lot about the importance of the zero emission target. These are the 4 pillars that I need to talk now, and if we have enough time, I'll be talking on another pillars. Thank you for your valuable comments. Mr. Mohamed Kassem, you have said, you have spoken about the frameworks, the international frameworks, and the economic strategies before and after COVID-19 and the Ukrainian-Russian war, and the reshoring, offshoring, and near-shoring, and you have given us examples, and you have illustrated some companies, and you have given us the case study, and we have zoomed in the textile industry. So do you see identified struggles that we need to overcome? And you have given us example about the Eurotex organization. What are the industries that we need to adhere to the most, and what are the sectors that we need to highlight? So I need you to give us briefly what are your point of view regarding these questions, and we will build over them in the coming sessions. Actually, we're seeing the near-shoring trading as the people coming to buy from Egypt. And we will find some we will find the textile or the clothes sector and the food supply sector are the most responsive sectors. And I have given you an example related to the wiring of Boeing. So we need a new sector that supports the industry of vehicles and cars. We now have attempts in Tunisia and in Algeria, and we're finding now Morocco, which is prominent prominent Arab countries in this, and we know that also Tunisia are prominent when it comes to the parts of vehicles. They haven't entered the full vehicle industry yet, but they have started at least with the spare parts. So we need to make the people keen in order to buy from Egypt. Now, actually, basically, now we are in the downstream. Now we need the production, because when we have a production, we will be able to export our products. Without having investment, we will not utilize the human capacities we have and the productive capabilities we have, because our export from the clothes, for example, is $2.5 billion, and this is very limited number when it comes to the Lebanon and China and many other countries. So we need to develop this, and this will not happen unless we develop the investment sector and the production sector itself. In order to make this, we need to have an attractive atmosphere for investment and enabling environment for production.
في الفترة اللي فاتت ولا زالت في منتهى الصعوبة. احنا نصحى الصبح نلاقي الحكومة ربطت في رجلنا كيس رمل جديد.
Now we have to free our investments and the services and enable them without putting obstacles that hinder them from being developed. So we will not achieve development unless we will eliminate and demolish all the obstacles. As for the Chinese people and the Korean and the people from Taiwan, they are ready to invest here in Egypt and in, for example, in the sneakers production and the clothes production. They are ready to invest here in Egypt, but we need to enable them, to giving them the enabling environment that will allow them to invest freely here in Egypt. As for the industry topic, I wish that the government will request the European countries to do what has been stated by the ambassador Abu al-Magd, which is the confrontation to the carbon tax. And the conditions related to the importing and exporting. And these regulations and conditions will come into force shortly. And the argument here, who will buy these tax? You're putting obstacles in the investors' way. We need to prepare the industry sector in order to meet the requirements of the import. Thank you so much.
We are going to take the thread and I'm going to take from what His Excellency the Ambassador said that most of the 80% of the companies are SMEs, and the idea that to have an empowerment initiative to improve and to support such industries in order to increase the competition in this field. And we have pioneers here, Dr. Ghani Abdel-Qadir and the CIB team. It's a very good opportunity. I think that this will be an executive step to identify the steps for the way forward. Actually, my idea was concerning to the industries that they are related to protecting the environment. It is an opportunity to take step after COP27, the available investment opportunities, but we can deal the SMEs issues as a whole, or to take a model or two in the green transformation, and we say, let's try here or let's try there, and to do something different. What I would like to say, and why I'm saying that in financing is very important. And financing is the first thing that the investor is thinking about. My opinion is that the banking and the financial institutions in Egypt, they are working very hard, actually. The idea is, or the issue is, that there is another group of obstacles that we are not used to shed the light on. My opinion is in the SMEs is the lack of information and data is one of the important obstacles. People, they don't know information, they don't know the laws, they don't know the legislations, they don't know the markets, they don't know how to deal with the different entities. For this reason, the idea of cooperation is very important, and exchanging experience is also very important in order to provide the required information and required data. Sorry. So the idea of the data and the information is very important. The other point is that in Egypt, unfortunately, for about 30 or 40 years, we are like that. We are addicted to what is called the tax incentives from the year 2014, 2014 or 2015, but actually we are still talking about the tax incentives, and that what was very clear in the amended investment law, and this is very clear that we depend on the tax incentives. We don't have to depend on this. Actually, it is not good at all because it causes a kind of deformation to the market. It encourages the people to look for the production that is protected with the tax incentives. In addition to the problem, big problem is to exempt the specific industries in Egypt from taxes. So as if a country like Egypt is donating its tax revenue to other countries. What you need is to enhance the SMEs in different ways, in different forms, like building the capacities, the training, information, data, facilitating getting the license, land owning. In addition to this, either in the nearshoring, the relation with the supply chain in Egypt and outside Egypt, to focus on exporting to big factories. So what I mean is to separate between the big industries and the small industries. In any country, you need big industries, but you need also the small industries to be capable of dealing with this and to support it and to enhance it. We are not choosing between this or that. No, what we are choosing is how to encourage, how to enhance the SMEs and how to make a connection between the big and the small industries. I think you have to do lots of studies and researches. This is a discussion that has taken a long time. Unfortunately, we did not improve. Actually, if we start with a specific sector that has real opportunities like the environment and the climate sector, this will be a very good opportunity. Allow me to add something here concerning the financing and the funding the activities, the environmental activities. I have a company, we work in the solar energy, what we call the small application, domestic and commercial, not big solar plants. The financing system is only for encouraging such kind of investments. Whomever would like to have a solar unit is not comparing he is comparing how much I'm going to buy an electric heater for 200 Egyptian pounds or buy a solar unit with 300,000 Egyptian pounds. The 30,000 Egyptian pounds, you're going to get it back, but on the long run, we have to cover this shortage with the innovative fund through the banks. If you go to Cyprus, to Jordan, to Tunisia, you will find that all the roofs, they do have solar heaters. Here, we don't have this in Egypt. Why? Because we don't have funding. And the country, in such cases, they give low interest for the small consumers to encourage them to use the solar system. So this is a point that we need to tackle, that we need to reconsider, that we need to encourage such kind of consumption that is protecting the environment and offering good advantages. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohamed. Germany is one of the countries that use solar system, and they don't have the sun, they don't have the weather of Egypt. So we would like to thank you all. By the end of the panelists, we are going to assure on the recommendations. We were talking about the opportunities and the opportunities between the north and the south. This is a perfect time that Egypt will grab this opportunity, either in the international supply chain and what's going on according to the international circumstances. This is an excellent timing. And in order to benefit from this, we have to be an active factor, and we have to be open on the others, and to play a better role, and to allow the private sector to play a better role, and to take the initiatives and to seize this opportunity. And we talked specifically on the SMEs and how to support and enhance these SMEs towards the green transformation, and not only to look on the private sector and the government and the European Union. No, we have to look how to work all together, how to cooperate all together, to work with the civil society, how to establish a partnerships to have a positive impact on all the parties. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you all the speakers. Thank you so much.